Lil Jeff knew the end was near. His breaths were shallow, but his will was strong. Summoning what little strength he had left, he turned to Q50, his most trusted ally. With barely a whisper, he delivered a final message. Though faint, the meaning was unmistakable. This war wasn't over. Q50 carried those dying words like a mission, vowing that the conflict sparked by the chain snatching wouldn't die with Jeff. But in hindsight, it's clear, none of this ever had to happen.
I begged him though, I swear to God, man, stay out here, gang.
If only Lil Jeff had listened to the mentor who urged him to stay back in California, things might have turned out differently. But Jeff had one last message. The streets of Chicago never sleep. For him and his right-hand man, Q50, that wasn't talk. Just a phrase, it was a reality. The two were frontliners in the Bloodhounds, locked in a deadly war with their rivals from Trap City. This wasn't just about territory or online clout, it was personal. Everything escalated after one bold. Lil Jeff, just 22, snatched a chain from Trap City's Carter during a run-in and flexed with it on social media. That act lit the match. What followed was a back and forth filled with online taunts and gunfire on the streets. By summer 2024, tensions hit a boiling point. Jeff and Q50 were front and center, living the same life they rapped about. On June 8th, 2024, things came to a head. The duo, along with a third member, got word that a Trap City affiliate was spotted in enemy territory. Ignoring the risk, they pulled up to South Rhodes Avenue, a place Jeff had name-dropped in his lyrics countless times. Surveillance footage from that day is chilling. Jeff jumped out of the car, gun in hand, and targeted a man in bright yellow shorts, later ID'd as Man. As the target ran into a nearby house, Jeff chased, firing without hesitation. But in a split second, the tables turned. An unseen shooter from inside the house fired back, hitting Jeff, stumbled backward and collapsed at the base of the porch. Then came the barrage. His enemies didn't hesitate. They emptied an entire magazine, hitting Jeff 19 times while he lay defenseless. Q50 and the third shooter could do nothing but flee. The other shooter tried to hold his ground but was quickly overwhelmed. Q50, injured after slipping and twisting his ankle, kept firing, even taking aim at a passing car. Some speculated the driver was connected to Man, the original target, but the truth remains unclear. Outnumbered and outgunned, Jeff's crew was forced to retreat. They knew Jeff was beyond saving. The driver sped off, but in a move nobody expected, Q50 and the other shooter doubled back. Under enemy fire, they retrieved Jeff's lifeless body and rushed him to the hospital, but it was too late. Jeff had already taken his last breath in the car, with Q50 right there, witnessing his twin's final moments. By the morning of June 9th, the streets were buzzing. News of Jeff's death spread like wildfire. Twitter blew up, Reddit threads dissected every frame of the leaked footage, and even police scanners crackled with live updates. But for Jeff's family and crew, this wasn't just another name in the endless cycle of violence. It was heartbreak. Jeff's father took to Facebook, sharing throwback photos of his son with the caption, "The world." He followed with a raw message. "Let it be known, y'all didn't get him. He came trying to get y'all. What happened, happened." Some saw it as glorifying violence. Others saw a grieving father trying to make sense of a senseless loss. For Q50, grief wasn't on the agenda. In a cold social media post, Q50 called Jeff his brother, his twin, and vowed to carry out Jeff's final wishes, strongly implying revenge was on the horizon. And those who knew Q50 knew he wasn't just talking. But instead of letting the situation cool, Trap City poured gasoline on the fire. Rather than let Jeff rest, they mocked his death. Members took to Instagram, reenacting Jeff's final moments, pretending to be shot, yelling, "I'm hit, I'm hit." Their comment sections were filled with taunts, accusing Q50 of leaving Jeff to die. What happened next shook Trap City and the entire South Side. Whether the Bloodhounds had premeditated what followed, or whether it was sparked by pure rage from the mockery, no one knows. But it's clear, he took it that far.
You know, the fans be like, man, get their ass on the porch.
One of the people who featured prominently in the taunt video was identified as Trap City Carter.
They call Q50 slide right here, man. This is what they call him slide now, man. We slide, he's right there.
It was clear now. The Bloodhounds, led by Q50, weren't just looking for closure. They were out for vengeance. And to them, Trap City Carter was the perfect candidate to make an example of. The beef that started with Lil Jeff and Carter had already cost one life. Now, Carter was next in line. October 19th, 2024, a quiet evening in Bronzeville. Carter was minding his business, unaware that his enemies had already set their sights on him. At 8:41 p.m., two masked gunmen jumped out of a white car and opened fire. Carter never stood a chance. Bullets tore through his chest before he could even react. The shooters wasted no time, hopping back in the vehicle and vanishing into the night. By the time paramedics arrived, Carter was barely holding on. He was rushed to Chicago Medical, but it was too late. The medical examiner later confirmed what the streets had already suspected. Shavavell Trap City Carter was dead. This wasn't some random street hit. This was calculated. This was payback, and Q50 wasn't shy about claiming it. Just hours later, he posted on Instagram, "Now Lil Jeff and Lil Scoo can rest now." No detective needed. The message was loud and clear, but not everyone was convinced. Trap City Taro clapped back with venom on IG. "All my dead brothers ain't ever put in they own work. Remember that. Been needed help, and this not for go well for none of y'all. LOL. Watch how croak." The war was far from over. The streets were boiling. And just when it seemed it couldn't get worse, it did. Exactly 1 week later, during Carter's funeral. As the procession pulled away from St. Mark's Church, tragedy struck again. Carter's sister, Ramisha Turner, was behind the wheel of her white Jaguar SUV driving in the funeral convoy. Suddenly, gunfire erupted. Her car was ambushed in broad daylight. Bullets ripped through the vehicle, causing it to crash into a nearby house. By the time police arrived, Ramisha was slumped over the steering wheel, lifeless. She had been hit multiple times. Her body was riddled with gunshot wounds. And on the pavement outside the wrecked Jaguar, a single white shoe, a quiet, chilling symbol of just how fast life can be taken away in this endless war. Ramisha was rushed to Chicago Medicine Englewood Memorial, but she didn't survive the attack. 2 deaths, 2 weeks, 1 family, Trap City Carter and his sister, both lost to the violence that continues to rule Chicago's streets. The city was shocked, torn between mourning and revenge. Some whispered about justice, others saw it as senseless bloodshed. But one comment online cut through all the noise. "Murdered her brother, then murdered her at her brother's funeral." Another echoed a painful truth. Another one of us killed by our own. Black man. No matter where people stood, the message was undeniable. The Bloodhounds weren't just getting revenge for Lil Jeff. They were sending a warning. A message. This war is far from over. And at the center of it all, one name kept surfacing. Q50. Jeff's right hand. His shadow. Many believed Q50 had orchestrated the hits on Trap City Carter and Ramisha Turner. If true, it cemented his place in a bloody chain of retaliation. But looking back, it didn't have to be this way.
How Lil Jeff could have escaped death. The murder of Lil Jeff shook the city not just because of how he died, but because of how easily it could have been avoided. The video of Jeff's final moments went viral, graphic and heartbreaking. But
behind the headlines and Twitter threads, a deeper story emerged. Just weeks after Jeff's death, Rico Reckless, a Chicago rap veteran, revealed that he had tried to save Lil Jeff from the path that led him to that front porch in South Rhodes Avenue. In interviews and emotional online posts, Rico opened up about his efforts. To him, Jeff wasn't just another name in the drill scene. He was family, a young talent with real potential. Rico had seen too many fall, and he didn't want Jeff to be next. They first crossed paths back in 2022. Jeff was just 20 then, raw, hungry, trying to find his way in the rap game. Rico, already in his 30s, had survived the same streets Jeff was now running through. He knew the warning signs, he saw the danger, and he tried to pull Jeff out of the fire, but Jeff didn't listen. The thrill of clout, the pressure of the streets, it pulled him in deeper, and now, Jeff is gone. Q50 is in too deep. Carter and Ramisha are dead, and the war that started with a chain snatching might never end.
That's my shorty. I've been with Bloodhound Lil Jeff since before the internet thought he was cool. I told him he was gonna be cool though, cause he had charisma. People liked him, cause he just was like little light skinned motherfucker. And like, you know, cause that one shorty is tall, so like people Lil Jeff gang.
To Rico Reckless, Jeff stood out, not just because of his flow, but because of the way he carried himself. They clicked fast, and Rico naturally slipped into a role he hadn't planned for, part mentor, part big brother. Their connection went on music. Rico saw Jeff as family, someone he genuinely wanted to protect from the same streets that had swallowed so many others. By mid-2024, Jeff, only 22, was deep in the Bloodhounds, locked in a rising war with the rival Crew Trap. The feud started earlier that year when Jeff snatched a chain from Trap City's Carter, a bold move that turned a personal diss into an all-out war. Rico had seen how this story ends. Diss tracks, social media disrespect, and then want Jeff to be just another name on a memorial t-shirt. I told him he could be big, Rico said. He didn't need all that other stuff. That September, Jeff flew out to California for what was supposed to be a short trip. Rico, who had been working on his own projects on the West Coast, invited him to stay longer, offering him a chance to escape the chaos. But in the end, Jeff couldn't leave the streets behind.
You should have saw how happy he was out here in Cali to be away from that environment. Like, the joy that was in his face. I still got videos on my phone I can show you. When we get under, I can show you, like, you could tell, like.
California offered Jeff a much-needed break from the escalating feud with Trap City back home. Out on the West Coast, Rico exposed him to a different pace, a lifestyle focused less on street cred and more on building something that could actually last. Rico took Jeff around the city, introducing him to people in the music industry. We'd pull up places and folks would recognize me from tracks or interviews, Rico recalled. Jeff was surprised, asking, "How you know everybody?" Rico broke it down for him. It was all about networking, making the right connections, and moving smart. Jeff caught on quick.
He did it, I swear to God, Vlad, the whole day he walked around, like, everybody he meet, because I'm showing, like, all right, look, this how you do it. So I go in the spot, hey, Records, with you. I'm, all right, look, gang, look, take down my info, follow my gram, you can take down my number, I don't give none of that shit, like, lock in. So then I'm like, and look, this one of the hottest upcoming rappers from Chicago, man, this Bloodhound, Lil Jeff, man.
They visited studios, met producers, and Jeff even started recording some tracks. Rico heard that Lil Baby and Grade A Productions were interested in signing Jeff, which was a real opportunity to go legit. Seeing how well Jeff was doing, Rico encouraged him to stay. "Man, relax out here. You don't even have to stay where you're at. Crash with me," he offered. Rico's offer wasn't just for convenience. He knew things were getting dangerous for Jeff in Chicago. The incident with Carter had made Jeff a target, and the Bloodhounds were planning retaliation against Trap City. "Stay in Cali, G," Rico said, offering Jeff a place to stay. He thought a few months away could help cool things down, let Jeff focus on music and maybe even land that deal. But Jeff wasn't completely sold. He'd been in California for about 2 weeks, and while he liked it, he couldn't shake his ties to Chicago. The Bloodhounds were his crew, and the beef with Trap City felt unresolved. By late September, Jeff decided to go back. Before he left, Rico made one last attempt to change his mind. They talked on the phone for 40 or 50 minutes. Rico told him to stop doing certain things. "Be cool, folks are watching you," he warned. Jeff's name was out there, and Rico knew what that meant in Chicago. "They're on you," he said. "You don't need to be moving like that." Rico reminded him about the deal with Lil Baby and all the opportunities he could have if he stayed away. Jeff listened, but stuck to his plan, saying he had things to handle back home. Rico remembered that conversation as likely being their last. Jeff returned to Chicago and things escalated quickly. Before long, he was dead. Rico heard the news soon after, and it hit him hard. "I was down about it," he said. He stayed away from the online videos and clips breaking down the scene.
Man, that shit me up, though. I ain't gonna lie, I was sad. I'm sad. Yeah, everybody kept trying to show the video and I ain't like that.
What stuck with him more was how Jeff went out, he was with his crew, but it didn't sound like anyone had his back when it counted.
I ain't gonna lie, folk. If I was going on the drill, my homie, folk, I'm down with him, folk. Respectfully, folk, because we knew what the we signed up for when we popped outside, gang.
Rico didn't dwell on regrets. He'd seen too much to get caught up in that. "R.I.P. Jeff, man," he said. He was real. Rico had done what he could. He brought Jeff to California, showed him a different way, and laid out the risks. But Jeff's roots in Chicago, the Bloodhounds, the beef, and that life all had a strong hold on him. He could have escaped death by staying out west, building on what he and Rico had started. Instead, Jeff went back home, and the streets claimed him, just as they had claimed others before him. It all started over a chain. Sadly, Jeff, Trap City Carter, and his sister weren't the only casualties in the feud between the Bloodhounds and Trap City. This conflict has been a dominant force on the streets of Chicago for years. The feud that led to Lil Jeff's death was just another chapter in the ongoing violence of Chicago's South Side, where survival, pride, and violence blur into a never-ending cycle of retaliation. At the heart of this chaos is the Bloodhounds versus Trap City feud, a deadly clash that ultimately took the life of Lil Jeff, a rising drill rapper whose music and actions embodied the raw intensity of the streets. What began as a dispute over a stolen chain in early 2023 escalated into a war that left behind a trail of bodies, broken alliances, and a legacy that still haunts Chicago's drill scene. This is the story of how personal grudges, gang loyalty, and the thirst for respect ignited a conflict that led to Lil Jeff's death on June 8, 2024. The Bloodhounds emerged in the early 2010s as a rogue faction of the Black Disciples, BDs, and Gangster Disciples, GDs, rooted in Chicago's Chatham and Woodlawn neighborhoods. They weren't a single gang, but an alliance of sets like Drill City 79th, 79th in Maryland, MTV 079, 79th in Vernon, 400 East Murder Drive, and until 2023, Trap City under the 0679 banner. This coalition, called Bloodhound 079, thrived for over a decade, blending street hustle with the drill music that came out of Chicago's underground scene. Drill City, the heart of the Bloodhounds, became infamous along the 79th Street corridor, an area plagued by shootings and tension where survival meant being ready to act. Lil Jeff, a native of Drill City, rose to prominence as a Bloodhound figurehead alongside peers like Q50, Vert, and JB Bin Laden. He turned his street cred into music that reverberated through Chicago with tracks like Should Have Saw It, showcasing his bravado and flaunting the gritty reality of their turf. The Bloodhounds had a strong alliance with Trap City, another South Side set, until everything unraveled over one act: the theft of a chain from Trap City's Carter, allegedly by Lil Jeff himself in early 2023. The chain, a key symbol of Trap's City's identity, went missing, and fingers pointed at Lil Jeff. In the drill world, where respect is everything, this wasn't just a theft, it was a declaration of war. Trap City confronted Jeff, who allegedly lied about a police chase to avoid being held accountable.
They know what they did.
Okay.
They know what they did.
The Bloodhounds, yeah, y'all was cool.
That was my homie. He stole the chain, bro. We tried like took it. He stole my homie.
The situation took a dangerous turn when two members of Trap City chased Lil Jeff. However, someone from a nearby house, possibly a Bloodhound ally, shot one of the pursuers, who was a cousin of an Oblak member. Despite this, Oblak stayed out of the conflict. This incident, tied to the stolen chain, shattered the 0679 alliance and led to an intense and personal feud between the Bloodhounds and Trap City. The first major casualty occurred on March 16, 2023, when Zier Zoni Nelson, a 22-year-old Bloodhounds member and Lil Jeff's cousin, was ambushed in a parking lot near 79th and Kymar. A gunman in a vehicle fired over 29 rounds, killing Zoni instantly. Many sources, including the gangs of Chicago Wiki and X-Post, blamed Trap City for the killing, suggesting it was retaliation for the chain theft or previous clashes where Zoni and Q50 allegedly shot two members of Trap City. Zoni's death marked the end of any remaining restraint from the Bloodhounds, setting off a chain of revenge. Jeff and Q50 tattooed Zoni's name on their eyelids and Z's on their trigger fingers, vowing to make Trap City pay. Lil Jeff, known as a stepper with a rumored body count in the double digits, didn't grieve quietly. On June 25, 2023, Trap City's Galileo Lal Goins, a 19-year-old, was gunned down while riding in an Uber on the 1300 block of West Taylor Street in University Village, also known as Little Italy. Little Italy is one of Chicago's most upscale and gentrified areas, known for its trendy spots and low crime rates. But on this night, the streets came calling. Over 7 rounds were fired at Lal, believed to be by Jeff, who reportedly used a micro Draco pistol. The Uber driver rushed to Rush University Medical Center, but Lal was already dead. Sources like ABC7 Chicago and the Gangs of Chicago Wiki connected the hit to Zoni's killing, with rumors that Lal had betrayed him. The boldness of the attack in such a gentrified neighborhood shocked the city, further spreading the reach of the feud.
I'm down there on the ground crying and shaking and stuff. Pow, pow, pow. They said it was like 8 shots. No, I believe it was more than 20.
Jeff's involvement wasn't subtle. His music like a remix of Lil Yachty's Coffin with Q50 dropped hints with lines like "Catch him in a fishbowl," nodding to Leah's untinted Uber. This wasn't just retaliation, it was a taunt, a middle finger to Trap City broadcasted through Drill's lens.
Folks, can we get half that little slab today? Off that Lil? I don't need no for you. You don't want to smoke a Lil, I ain't trying to match. Let's play a new. If you ain't smoking my eyes, I can't smoke your eyes.
Lal's death sent shockwaves through the community, not only because of the boldness of the hit, but also because of who he was. Lal was connected to Project Hood, a local organization focused on fighting violence in Chicago. Pastor Corey Brooks, the founder of Project Hood, confirmed that Lal was the son of an employee and released a statement mourning his loss. "We are deeply saddened by the loss of J-Lo Goins, a young man who is connected to our organization through his family. This senseless violence has to stop," Brooks said. Despite the case's high-profile nature, no arrests were made. The shooter disappeared into the night, leaving behind questions and a community in mourning. The violence didn't stop there. After Lal's death, Trap City reportedly killed Trell, a lesser-known figure, though details about him are sparse. He is often overlooked in the narrative of the feud. Then, in the fall of 2023, Trap City shot Q50 in the leg, which further fueled the conflict. On August 31st, 2023, Bloodhounds targeted Glendale, a Trap City affiliate, at a Clark gas station on 67th and Aberhart. Glendale survived multiple gunshots, but that night, Woodland saw 4 people shot, including a 4-year-old, showing the collateral damage of the feud. Glendale later appeared online, thanking his people and taking jabs at the Bloodhounds. The war was spiraling, and the casualties were piling up. By January 2024, the violence became more calculated. On January 26th, Monty Drench Williams, 17, and Robert Lil Rob, 16, brothers from Nitty Block BKN, a Trap City ally, were executed outside Innovations High School in the Loop during lunch break. Bloodhounds members T-Slick, Lil Jeff, and J Mo allegedly hopped out of a sedan and an SUV and fired for 15 seconds. Both teens died on the scene, and the shooters fled to Calumet City. Trap City hit back, though the specifics are unclear. Lil Yee, Jeff's music, such as his track Double Trouble, gloated over the deaths, turning Monty and Lil Rob's killings into trophies. But the streets are a two-way game, and Trap City's resolve only grew stronger. On June 8, 2024, Lil Jeff met his fate at 21 on a drill in Trap City's hood on the 6600 block of South Rhodes Avenue. He was chasing an opponent whom he'd targeted before. The war didn't end with Jeff. On October 19, 2024, Carter, the Trap City member whose chain started it all, was killed by a Bloodhounds allied group. His funeral in early November was shot up, killing his sister and an unnamed civilian, further emphasizing the widespread devastation caused by the feud. Now, Q50 leads the Bloodhounds, dominating the drill scene while honoring Jeff, whose death at just 21 left a significant void. The body count stands at 8 confirmed. Z-Money, Lil, Trell, Monty, Lil Rob, Lil Jeff, Vel, and Vel's sister. Earlier Trap City losses are hinted at, but remain unnamed. Chicago's 2024 homicide total dropped to 573, according to the Chicago Tribune, down from 617 in 2023, yet still among the highest in recent decades. The Bloodhounds versus Trap City feud is more than just gang violence. It's a reflection of Chicago's drill culture, where music and murder are deeply intertwined. Lil Jeff's story, stealing a chain, avenging his cousin, and dying in a drill, mirrors the pride and peril of this world. Personal ties deepen the stakes. Jeff's brother and father were part of Trap City, making each death feel like a wound within a fractured family. For Chatham and Woodlawn, the cost is generational. Young men like Monty and Lil Rob were gunned down at school, while innocents like Vel's sister highlight the war that spares no one. The collapse of the 0679 alliance created a vacuum, filled with blood. It's a cautionary tale of how a single act, a stolen chain, can unravel a decade of unity.